1-minute Modcast with his mates, Mo and Sadia. Episode 182.
In this world of work, and they say like all of a sudden the playground is totally level because everything you learnt doesn't really matter. It's really around your powers of what you can do with tech and AI specifically. We've seen this trend for a while in terms of we've seen what like LinkedIn's been doing for many years. I mean, they've made it super easy to apply for a job because you press one button and then you've automatically applied for something. The challenge is obviously then the company gets 20,000 applications, and how do they sift that? Because it doesn't really matter to you because you're like, yeah, this one's good. I have no idea what this is, but let's apply and see what happens. But then obviously for the company, then it makes it harder and harder. You were telling me about a particular story where someone seems to have done quite well out of this and the AI boom until they obviously didn't. Tell us more.
Yes, I think the story is everywhere on the internet is the Y Combinator startups in the US. I think there was one whistleblower who said there's a developer or an engineer who has been doing multiple jobs at once. So at least four jobs and four different startups in Y Combinator area. And that also brought me another question like, okay, now it's a playing field. Internet has opened up. Someone sitting in a different continent is working remotely for companies in a different continent. And on one hand, people are struggling to find jobs. On the other, there is a person who is doing four different jobs, although it's not ethically right because he signed four different full-time contracts, right? Like if I am a employee at some place, I'm expected to be completely for that one company and not moonlight for multiple. But this person clearly did that for many, I think at least a year, because people started replying that many startup founders said that, yeah, I have hired him, but then I fired him in 2 days because of the inconsistencies. So I do not know how many times he's been hired and fired. I think it's a database in itself. But then it also makes me think that if the contractual roles were not there, like for example, he was not a full time and he was a freelancer, then I think for us, like most of us are now freelancers and contractors, the level playing field is now that I can do four jobs if I use the tech and the AI properly, but ethically as well, that all my parties know who I'm working with and how much time I'm dedicating to each of my work, like what are the deliverables, as long as that is clear. But then the larger aspect of ethical, which we have been discussing in Modcast for many months now, I think that becomes very significant in this case.
Yeah, well, there's always big questions about being a full-time contractor, how people operate around that. I think this person as well did not deliver though. So if they had been delivering, at least that would be something. Okay, so the person's still doing the work and they're delivering, we're happy and satisfied, right? It's outcome focused. Of course, full-time role has different commitments and different rules around that. But yeah, for it's AI is gonna enable a lot of people to do more with less time. That's a reality. If you are able to systemize your work, create something for yourself that you can follow, and make it simple enough that you can use AI in different steps to accelerate yourself, yeah, you're gonna do that. But 100%, yeah, I agree with you, Satya. Being able to be open and honest with people that I might be working with other people. Yeah, that's the reality. Either if you're a contractor or something. But with full time, I assume those startups, when they hire, they want someone full on because they're a startup and they need that attention and focus, right? So that's the downside. If it's for a startup, that's the downside. Other part is remote working, right? Remote working, it's so much harder now to trust that that person, if you agree to them spending 7 8 hours or whatever amount of hours with you full time, are they really working that, or are they using AI and actually they're clever and they're doing it in 2 hours, or even does that even matter for you, right?
It's not about how many hours you spend sitting at your desk in meetings. All we care about is the deliverables and the outputs. And if you're sort of meeting those, then happy days. So if you are using AI, like you say, Mo, then hey ho, maybe you should fess up and say, hey, actually, that task you said it's going to take me 2 minutes, 2 weeks, maybe. You've done it in a couple of hours, and then you're chilling and watching Netflix for the rest of the time. Or should you perhaps say, actually, that was dead easy. It only took me a little while. Give me some more. And that's the ethical thing again, right? As to what that is. There was a story, I think it was last year, of this developer who's on a six-figure salary, and he was providing all the outputs, etc., doing well for the company and everything. And then all of a sudden, again, there's a dip that he wasn't sort of responding when they expected him to. And then there was some alarm bells going. And it turned out the guy who'd been employed full time had outsourced his job to some chap in China. And
Wow.
literally every time he got a request from the company, he's like, hey, mate, can you sort this out? The guy in China had to go off to some wedding or something, and then there was no one available. And he's like, I have no idea. And he was being paid as like a six-figure salary, and this went on for quite a while before they caught up with him. And you kind of think, don't even need the human person anymore, right? If you can use some bots, then this is, I guess, a real concern in terms of when you're hiring someone. All of a sudden, it's got a lot more trickier.
And that's why the personal skills, the soft skills are so
Yeah.
important and matter
Yeah.
when you're in a team and all this stuff. Otherwise, it's gonna be so much faster to replace all of us with AI, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I think many companies are considering, right? Like, for example, Salesforce no longer want to hire because they said we need 30% lesser developers because most of the mid range or the mid career level work
Mm.
of developers is being now taken care of by AI. I see the challenges more and more for the beginners because let's say someone who is just out of college struggling for a job, but then they have such a huge ladder to climb. Suddenly, the two steps are far apart for them to climb up now.
Yeah.
Satya, just one last comment on this. You reminded me of something, which is when I was a graduate going for a job, they expected me to be a mid-level or something. And now with AI, I think we'll be expected to be seniors when we start our jobs coming out of like a graduation of university or something, which is higher barrier.
And do we
Yeah.
need those degrees anymore? Is something that I also kind of think like it has to be so much rewired, rethought, and unlearn and relearn in the new scenario.
Yeah. There was another story you reminded me of, Mo, of what you just said, where people are starting to use the AI to help them get through the interviews because initially they're all online, right? And particularly if it's like it's a virtual role anyway, where they had the AI in the background during the call or maybe on their phones. And in real time, as the person was asking them the questions, the AI was coming up with a response to how to answer that question based on knowing who the company was, the job role, etc. And then the person's just reading the transcript out. And again, it's like,